Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of 0 to 60. Now the plan in the last couple of days was to smash out some old school 0 to 60 videos with our old man's 330 SMG car. Now it's got the sports button and also the E92 325 that's on the channel a fair bit. But for 2 days now, on the GoPro it doesn't even look that bad. But yeah, basically it just keeps spitting. So the roads are wet and probably not, well, they're definitely not right even for those low power cars to do a 0 to 100 test. So I'm in the shed. It is just coming up 4:30 and I'm going to mess around with the RX8. I'm sorry there's been so much rotary content over the last couple of weeks. I know it's not what everyone's here for, but it's the new toy and I kind of want to see what this thing's like mechanically. I brought it in last night, got it on charge. It hasn't been driven much, so just give the battery a good top up. And I also hooked up VersaTuner again because unlike MHD, it wouldn't read and tell me what map was on this car. In fact, it couldn't tell me if it was tuned at all. All you can do with VersaTuner is write to the ECU. You can't actually pull any useful data off the ECU. So I wrote one of the VersaTuner maps. We'll talk about it a bit later. But the main thing is I want to do an oil change. The oil in this motor is not as clean as the oil in the broken motor. So we'll give it an oil change, check the spark plugs, and maybe even do a compression test. I guess the first thing we need to do is get up on the hoist. Although I'm looking at it, doesn't the paint look really good? This blue, pretty much every one of these in Australia, they fade. The Mazda paint's just not very good. You can see the bonnet starting to go. Yeah, I might try and put some wax on it while it's in here and just give it a little bit of love. But we'll get up on the hoist and have a look underneath, see what this car is really like mechanically, drop the oil, and we'll go from there. All right, let me get it lifted up. So, I've already had a quick look, but let me show you guys what this thing looks like underneath, and it's actually really tidy. It has got max speeding rods, shocks. I'm assuming they use the same technology in their shock absorbers as they do in their con rods. They're that stiff. But yeah, actually looking at the car underneath, now I did wash the engine bay down yesterday before it came in the shed, just to make it a little bit nicer to work on. But there's not too much oil. And more importantly, there's like no corrosion on anything. Everything looks really good. The car is fitted with headers. Now I thought that the dude we bought it off said it had stock headers. It doesn't. They look like the eBay headers, which is nice. Better than stock headers, I guess. It looks like it does have a cat. Now the dude we bought it off said it has blown out the cat. I might pop that rear O2 sensor off and see if we can have a feel inside and see if that cat is still in there. We don't want it to be. And yeah, full exhaust all the way down to the back. More max speeding rods. Goodness. A couple of missing bolts. You can see one's missing out of the shock there. Yeah, but everything's like really tidy. Considering this car is 2004, I think it is, or a 5 model. Like, everything's pretty good. You can see there is some black paint on things that shouldn't have black paint on them, like that adjuster just there. But aside from that, I mean, I'm really surprised. It's actually a good car. Apart from some idiots that have been doing burnouts on the grass. You can see there's blue paint on the exhaust hanger there. I don't know if that's from when it's had a respray at some point. Actually, I wonder if that's what all the black paint is on it for. I bet when it had the outside painted, they've just painted the underbits. You can see around here as well, black paint on the control arm. Yeah, I wonder if they were trying to cover up blue overspray maybe. Bit of a bend on the dust shield there. Or, no, that's supposed to be like that. It's for cooling. Interesting. It all looks really good. I am pleasantly surprised. These rear battery relocations are always a bit sketchy if you ask me. Like the BMWs where they have the big wire running under the car has a massive fuse so that if it shorts out on the body anywhere it will blow the fuse, where I don't think you can do that, because if you had that good of a fuse, the battery, the starter would probably pop that fuse with an off-the-shelf one. I hope I'm making sense. Anyway, it looks all pretty good. I'm going to drop the oil out of it. We'll see what that looks like. Lower it down while the oil's draining, and we'll pull those Plugs out. We'll see if we've got anything interesting on the spark plugs. But yeah, guys, that's actually a really tidy car, especially considering its age. I mean, actually, I'll show you. There's some scrapes on the underside, but it is so low. I actually did that yesterday just in the garden. And these flimsy support pieces are too flimsy. You can see they're all bent up where they've caught on things. But this car is really low. It's the first time we've had to use those ramp lift up thingies to get it on the hoist. Anyway, it sure looks pretty good. Even got an AEM filter cover. I'll take that off and see what the filter looks like underneath. Everything looks clean. What a win. This is good. This is a good car. Mind you, I say that, it may have shitty compression and then it's a worthless car. So I think we will check it. We will check it. So that's the oil there. It's not the dirtiest oil I've ever seen, but it's not as clean as I'd like. Doesn't smell that fuely. In fact, it smells pretty clean. But it does look dirty, and I know obviously as they use these to lubricate the cylinder walls, you want the sump oil to be as clean as possible, which is why I thought we'll do this service, just have a look at it. But yeah, I mean, it looks pretty bad in here actually. There's nearly some colour coming through it. Alright, I'll let that keep draining and I'll get the plugs out. So I've managed to get the oil filter out from down in the deep depths down there and spill a load of oil in the process, but we have them there. Now that is the original one, and I've got a brand new Ryco, exactly the same. Not always huge fan of Ryco filters. Then the BMWs, they use the plastic end ones, which I don't like, but I'm sure the cartridge ones are fine. Now I'll just show you guys the plugs quickly. I'll try and get it under some light. Both plugs look carboned up. They're probably fine, to be honest, but since I have a spare set ready to go in that we bought for the other engine, I think I might just replace them. I say set, I've only got a pair. I don't have trailing plugs. NGK Australia was nil stock on trailing plugs when I tried to order them, but I have actually got them on back order, so we will have trailing plugs shortly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some oil in it. I'm actually using Castrol Magnatech, and I'd love people's opinions because oil is always really divisive. I went with this because it's on sale, and it's also what one of the larger rotary shops in Australia recommend for the RX8. Castrol actually recommend a 1040 Ultra Clean, not the Magnatech, and Penrite is my other sort of go-to oil guys. They recommend a proper mineral oil, which I think is what Mazda recommend. Oil's very subjective, and it's always good to hear people's opinion. My personal take on oil, it's more important to replace it more often than use the perfect oil. That's just coming from my experience in the industry. Let me know your thoughts on the right oil for the Mazda, but I'm running the Magnatech because that entire 10-litre bottle was only 40 bucks, and that's cheap as chips. We can do lots of oil changes. Anyway, they're supposed to take 3.5 litres. I'm gonna get it filled up. The oil that did come out of it, when I just emptied the oil tray that I caught it into, it was actually really black. It was worse than I thought it was, so I'm glad we're doing this change. Let's get this oil in, some fresh plugs, we'll start it up, warm it up, and then we'll do a compression test. Just thought I'd show you quickly, new plug, old plug, obviously quite carboned up, but you're going to get that on a rotary. I mean, it could be fine, but while we got them here, let's put the new one in. And we're only going to use this to run the, well, it'll stay in there. And just so you know, if this is low on compression, we're just going to keep it and keep running it. If it hot starts, we can keep using it. But I do want to do the compression test. I'm just going to run it, put it in, get it hot so it can do a compression test. So let me get the two plugs back in. Okay, so plugs are back in, leads are connected, oil filter's on, and I've put 3.5 litres in it. Now, I did check on the dipstick, and it's massively overfilled. Now, obviously, the oil's got to work its way around the engine, but the oil check procedure on these things, I don't know if the GoPro's going to pick that up, is absolutely horrific. You got to leave it running for 5 minutes and do all this. It's got to be like perfect conditions to check the oil level. It seems over full. I'm just going to start it up and see what it does. Again, I just want to get temperature in it to do a compression test. So Will it even start? Let's find out. She started. All right, I'll let it warm up and I'll get back to you guys in a sec. No funny noises. It did give it a little bit of a throttle blip, which it doesn't normally do. Not sure why. Anyway, we'll let it warm up. I'll come back to you guys in a sec. Okay, so I am trapped in the car trying to get away from the fumes. God, this thing puts out some fumes. But we're just coming up to 70 degrees C. That is the temperature that we did the other compression test at, but just have a listen to this thing. It does sound good. I think it's revving a little bit quicker, which could be the plugs, I'm not really sure. Right, we're at 72 degrees C. Let's shut it off, die from CO2 poisoning, and hook up the compression tester. Dave has come along to help do the compression test. Do you want to turn that on? Yep, we are connected. Right, actually, I'll give you the camera to film that. Yep. It's a bit iffy. Dave has just lost his mind that this car has extractors on it, or headers.
Another win for the best RX8 buy in Australia.
And just so you guys know, I'm not going to touch the pedal because that's how we did the other car. And we'll get a compression test. And I did tell him, Dave, even if it's low on compression, we're going to keep it. We're not going to have a panic attack.
No.
We're just going to use it until it doesn't hot start anymore.
Yeah, which is starting fine at the moment.
Right. Rear rotor, here we go. Give us a shout when the number gets to 0.
Yep. Okay.
You're quiet, which means it's probably bad.
No, it's not too bad.
No, that's bad.
Is it?
Oh no, corrected. So this one doesn't crank as fast as the other car. The other car turns over faster.
226
so
RPM, right.
But the corrected 250, which is the number we care about.
Which is... It's coming
there. There it is. So 90, 86, 85.
That's not too bad. Right?
It is bad.
Is it?
Yeah, that's bad.
Oh, so it's not going to last forever.
No. But it's much better than the other one. But like I said, it'll still hot start. Yeah, basically anything under 100 is bad.
Oh, so what should they be? I didn't
like
think...
120.
Oh, 120, okay.
That's a new one.
Right. Yeah, for some reason I thought, like, you know, we're playing with BMWs, we want them around, well, they should be around 200. Oh. I thought these were going to be like around 100.
Oh, no. A fresh one's around 120. 120 to 130, maybe 140 in a Renesis. Don't forget, Renesis run higher compression than
the older one. Right, well. Okay.
So yeah, anything under 100 is bad in a Renesis.
Okay, well...
So it's not great.
85 with...
Its life is limited, but hopefully we'll get a few months out of it.
Cool. All right, we'll swap the swap it over.
Yes. All right, guys. So we have the compression tester in the front housing now. We're going to check it. Now, I just want to reiterate, even though that's low in the back, we're not panicking. As long as this hot starts, it's going to do what we want to do. And I was saying to Dave as well, once it stops hot starting with this starter motor, which is the original Series 1 starter motor, we will put a high torque starter motor in it and hopefully get a little bit more life out of it. So considering we're not going to daily this car, I'm not too worried yet. But hopefully the front housing is all over 75.
Oh yeah.
Let's hope. Right.
I'm feeling confident.
I don't think this battery feels confident.
Good. Yep. Okay, that's come up at 227 instead of 226 that time. Just let it read.
We didn't get a rear. We didn't get a middle reading.
And that's a bit weird.
We've got 80 and 86. Let's try it again and get that middle reading.
Okay, I'll just double check the connection just in case there's nothing weird going on down there.
Yeah.
Hit it. Yep. Exactly the same thing.
No center reading.
Yeah. Okay, we're on. Yep. Oh my god.
Okay, guys, so we've done the front rotor 3 times now, and it only gives us 2 readings. Now, I'm not too familiar with this particular compression tester, so I'd like someone to chime in. I'm wondering, are one of the rotor faces not making compression, and that's why it doesn't give a reading? I would have thought it would have given a 0% reading. We switched it back to the rear housing and got 3 readings again. Put it back to the front housing, and we only get 2 readings. So we'll do one more test. But that is a bit more of an issue. If one of the faces has no compression, that's worse than... I was thinking low compression across all cylinders, or all rotor faces. Anyway, let's... 15th time lucky.
You never know, right?
Maybe they'll give us a reading.
You never know. Okay, it's good to go.
Yep.
Oh man,
That was so weird.
What the hell? That's really bizarre.
But that's okay compression.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's not good.
It's working. It's workable compression. Look, should we? I kind of want to do it again because
I was literally like, in my mind, like, everyone's right about rotaries. They're fucking terrible. Starting to get a little bit less positive. All right.
kill it. Yeah.
Let's do it one more time. I don't know why it wasn't doing the 2 readings. I did solder this together, and maybe it's just a coincidence that it didn't work on the front and then it worked on the back. All right, we'll try again.
Yep. Yep. 3 readings again.
Wow.
I don't know. I don't know.
All right. What are they? They're in the 80s.
87, 89, and 90 that time, so a little bit better.
Okay, all right. So basically, the compression's in the 80s, which isn't great. It needs to be over 100 for it to be a good motor. So the motor is coming to the end of its life, but there is a little bit of life left for us to have fun with this engine, which is good. And the car, I think, is better than we were expecting. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got the headers. Troy, when we picked it up, I don't know if we misheard him, but he said it had stock headers on it, but it doesn't. It has got headers. It's got that mid-cat. It's got a full exhaust system. I'm pretty pumped to play with this thing and have some fun with it. It was sounding better with the spark plugs changed. It's got fresh oil in it now. I'm going to do the proper oil level thing that Mazda want you to do, check the oil level before we hang up, before we call it quits tonight. But yeah, the other thing I mentioned I was going to do in this video was play a little bit more with VersaTuner. Now, I have loaded the VersaTuner map for 92 octane, cold air intake, and an exhaust system. There's 4 or 5 VersaTuner maps to choose from. Guys, if you've played with VersaTuner, let me know in the comments below what map you think this car should have on it. I've been looking through the forums and reading a few different things. It looks like the guys that own VersaTuner actually have an RX8 and they were doing some development with that sort of come to an end when COVID all kicked in last year. One sort of interesting thing I did get from the forums, these intakes, the reason they make more power is they recalibrate the airflow going through the airflow meter. Obviously, if this tube is a different diameter, they can richen or lean out the engine mixtures, and they do mess with the tuning a little bit. So that's kind of interesting. I don't know how much of a gain this is going to be, or if it's going to make any difference based on what the tuning is. But I do want to play with it. How do you feel? Like, I mean, this is our sort of, I hope no one takes offense to this, but this is like our toy car. Like, it's not the powerful car. It's the one we just want to be 18-year-olds in again. I kind of want to put like a flame or a crackle tune on it.
I'm actually keen to make this thing make some cool noises too, because it's, like you said, it's, I don't want to sound bad by calling it a toy, but it is kind of a toy. It's 200 horsepower. Like,
we don't want to do those sort of tunes on our high power cars because they're just not good for anything. But on this, it's just like, let's make it make some noise and have some fun. It's
not boosted. It's not under a lot of pressure. It's not super high compression, clearly. Yeah, like it's, it should be fine, and it should, rotaries can spit fire, which is pretty cool, right?
I'd like to see some flames out there.
Yeah.
All right, let's end it off there. It's had a service. It's actually pretty good. There's a couple of bolts that are missing underneath that I need to replace. Get that oil level checked. Get it back on the ground. And I think next week we're going to get it roadworthy and registered. Hopefully the weather clears up tomorrow, which is Sunday. We can do some 0 to 60s that we've been planning to do with the Beamers. But yeah, apart from... We knew it wasn't going to have brilliant compression. It's an original engine.
Yeah.
But hopefully in that 80 PSI range, we're going to get a few months out of it and have some fun with it. It's going to do what we need it to do. We still haven't decided what we want to do with that other car, but we're pretty keen on putting the 13B REW engine in it, the old school 13B, and having a powerful car with that one, but still rotary.
Yeah, I think that's how fun this little wankle's been so far. Yeah, I think it's got to be a rotary if anything goes in it.
Got to make that bra.
Yeah.
And then when this engine eventually dies, we did just go and measure up the sump on the N54 and how it's going to fit over this steering rack. Hey.
One can dream.
That's going to be an expensive swap that we'll have to do many years down the track, but I'm pretty happy with it, man.
Absolutely.
Underneath, it's very clean.
Yeah, no, it's a good car. It's a great little car. I'm having a lot of fun with it. And now that it's actually got compression on all three phases, it's much less of an issue.
That was scary. All right, let's end it off there. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. We'll catch you on the next one.
Peace.